All right, let's dive right in. We're going to be looking at a material that's supposed to be the future of high-strength steel, but it has a fatal flaw, a kind of double agent hiding deep, deep within its structure. So take a look at this. At first glance, it looks like it could be a piece of abstract art, right? But what you're actually seeing is the microscopic world inside a super steel. And hidden somewhere in this beautiful, complex pattern is a really dangerous secret, a vulnerability that can cause catastrophic failure completely without warning. Okay, so to really get what's going on here, we've got to meet the hero of our story first. This is a brand new breed of steel that promises to be stronger, lighter, and just plain better than pretty much anything that's come before it. This stuff is called medium manganese steel, and for materials scientists, it's basically a dream come true. I mean, we are talking about a tensile strength over 1 gigapascal. To put that in perspective, that's like hanging several cars from a steel bar about as thick as your thumb. But it's also really ductile. That means it can stretch and deform, kind of like taffy without breaking. And that combination of strength and stretchiness is incredibly rare, making it perfect for building lighter, safer, and more fuel-efficient cars. But here's the thing. Every hero has a weakness, right? Well, this wonder material has a serious Achilles heel. An invisible saboteur that can undo all of its amazing properties. And the culprit? Well, it's just a single, tiny atom. Yup, hydrogen. Under normal conditions, this steel is everything you want it to be, strong and ductile. But when even a few hydrogen atoms manage to sneak into its structure, it becomes weak and brittle. It's a complete 180, and this dramatic change is a huge problem for engineers. It's a phenomenon known as hydrogen embrittlement. And this is where you can really see the difference. It's just undeniable. On the left, you see the fracture surface of the normal steel. See how it's all rough and torn? That's a sign of a ductile failure. The material actually fought back. It stretched before it broke. Now, look at the image on the right. That's the hydrogen charge sample. Whoa, totally different story, right? It's a flat, brittle break filled with all these tiny secondary cracks. It didn't bend, it just snapped. So the big question is, how can one tiny atom cause all this damage? To find out, we have to zoom way back into that microscopic structure and meet the key player in this whole drama, a component that's both a hero and a potential traitor. Okay, so this is retained austenite, or Ra for short. It's a really special component inside the steel's microstructure, and it has this incredible superpower called the trip effect. What that means is, as the steel gets stressed, the Ra actually transforms itself, absorbing energy and making the steel both stronger and more ductile. This effect is the whole reason this steel is so special in the first place. But, and this is the huge twist, that superpower has a dark side. I mean, the source material just nails it when it says, retained austenite contributes to enhanced mechanical performance in hydrogen-free conditions while exacerbating hydrogen embrittlement in hydrogen-charged environments. So let's get this straight. The very thing that makes this steel a superstar is also its greatest weakness. Our hero is a double agent. Okay, that's a pretty bold claim, right? So how do we know this is what's happening? Well, scientists put it to the test. And now we're going to dive into the evidence they found. All right, so what you're looking at here is called a stress-strain curve. It's basically the story of what happens when you pull a piece of steel apart until it breaks. See that blue line? That's our normal, healthy steel. Notice how far it stretches to the right before it finally fails. But then, look at the red line. Just, wow. That's our steel after it's been exposed to hydrogen. It barely even tries before it snaps. The performance literally falls off a cliff. So, just how bad are we talking? Well, the steel's ability to stretch, its ductility, it just plummets. We're talking a drop from a respectable 17% all the way down to a measly 2%. That's an 88% loss in performance. It's staggering. And all of that because of a few stray hydrogen atoms. And if you need more proof, here it is. This is the microscopic smoking gun. These maps show us exactly where our double agent, the retained austenite, is hanging out. It's the blue stuff. Okay, so look at the areas far away from the break. Lots of blue, right? It makes up about 40% of the structure. But now, look right up against the fracture surface itself, where all the action happened. The blue is almost gone. It's down to just 10%. That's our proof right there. Under stress, the retained austenite transforms, and that transformation is right at the heart of the failure. All right,
So we've got the culprit, we've got the motive, now let's connect the dots. Let's break down exactly how this betrayal goes down, step by step. So it really boils down to 3 simple steps. Step 1, hydrogen accumulation. Basically, the sneaky hydrogen atoms find the retained austenite to be a great place to hide out, so they all pile in. Then, step 2, transformation and release. Remember that helpful trip effect? Well, when the steel gets stressed, that kicks in. The austenite transforms into a new, harder structure. But, and this is the key, it evicts all that hydrogen it was holding. Which brings us to step 3, cracking. Suddenly, you've got this massive rush of hydrogen flooding into this new, very brittle part of the steel, right where the stress is highest. It's a lethal combination. And boom, microscopic cracks just start forming and spreading like wildfire.
And this diagram right here, it lays that whole process out visually. You can see the little yellow dots, that's our hydrogen, just chilling inside the blue retained austenite. But then, when the stress hits and that transformation happens, bam, they get violently pushed out. They concentrate right at the weak spots and kickstart a crack. Our double agent basically just opened the front door and let the enemy right in.
You know, this has been a really cool detective story on a microscopic level, but what's the so what? Why does this actually matter to us in the real world? Let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture.
Well, it turns out understanding exactly how this works is absolutely crucial for building a safer, more efficient world. Think about it. We're moving towards a hydrogen economy, right? That means we're going to need pipelines, storage tanks, cars, you name it, all made of materials that can handle being around hydrogen safely for years and years. Figuring out these tiny atomic-level secrets, that's how we're going to design the super steels of the future. And really, that brings us to the ultimate challenge, the big question for material scientists everywhere. How in the world do you design a material that's tough enough for the most extreme environments, but also smart enough to outwit an enemy you can't even see, an enemy as small and as silent as a single atom? That question right there is what drives this kind of incredible research forward.